views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hola everyone, welcome to Open BxRx Remote, brought to you from my living workspace, Charity Executive Suites, where we continue to provide you with up-to-date information regarding COVID-19 and the impact it's having on our community. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche every Friday. Here's what's coming up in today's show. Leading things off, we'll speak to the 72nd District Assembly member, Carmen de la Rosa, about the COVID-19 health disparities amongst the Black and Latino community. After that, we'll hear about the necessary steps that the New York Common Pantry is taking to provide meals for those in need during this crisis. Then we'll learn about Lincoln Center at Home, a new remote initiative connecting people to the arts while staying at home. Later on in the show, Bobby C brings us an up-to-date with the latest headlines in the world of sports. And lastly, this week's Open Artist Spotlight shines on 2019 Grammy Award nominee Sonia De Los Santos, who is here to tell us about her new online series, En Casa con Sonia, that includes music sing-alongs. So, sit back y prepárate. All this is headed your way because now we are officially open. Welcome back to Open. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche, encouraging you to get social with us, especially during these social distancing times. That you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at BronxNet TV, and like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. And while you're there, you can follow me and reach out to me personally. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, FB, and LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. So as COVID-19 continues to spread throughout New York City, some communities seem to be impacted more than others. And according to the New York Department of Health, Black and Latino communities have seen a higher number of death rates due to COVID-19. The question is, why are minorities disproportionately being impacted by the virus? Joining us to discuss more on this topic, we welcome Assembly member of the 72nd District, Carmen de la Rosa. Hello.
Hi, thank you for having me today.
And thank you for finding the time to be with us. And I wanted you to introduce yourself to our audience because you have developed yourself within the business of politics, for lack of a better word. Sorry if I'm using that term, but you've been in this field since 2007?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm an immigrant. I immigrated here from the Dominican Republic as a small child. And my parents came to Washington Heights area of Manhattan. And so when I graduated from college, I decided to go and look for work. And I ended up at the front door of an assembly member's office on the Upper West Side. And at that time, I interviewed to be his scheduler. And I worked in his office for 5 years and did every job in that office, including being his scheduler, being the person to do casework. And finally, I went on to run that district office. And then in 2014, I took a job as a chief of staff for the city council member representing the community where I lived. And I learned about how to make laws and how to balance a budget in the city level. And then in 2017, I decided that if I was good enough to work for these men, I was good enough to put on my running shoes and run. And I ran against an incumbent and I won. And I've been serving in the assembly ever since. And it's been an honor to find my voice and be able to represent and advocate for my community.
That's a lovely story. Thank you for sharing.
My pleasure.
And it totally makes a difference because I think it's important that people understand how invested certain elected officials are. It's not just about being in office. And and also what you offer for your services, as your services, I should say. And so the fact that you are servicing this particular area that is predominantly minorities, let's talk a little bit about this unfortunate situation with the death toll being predominantly Latino and African American.
Yeah, I mean, it's an alarming death toll when you hear that 39% of Latinos and 28% of African Americans and Black have died due to COVID. We know that we make up together the largest group population wise, but we also know that we've been the most disadvantaged when it comes to having access. So while we are alarmed by the statistics and really the deaths in our community have taken people from us that matter so much, people that are loved ones. I mean, I can't tell you how many parents of people that I went to school with, I see every single day are passing away. We're not shocked by the fact that our community has been disproportionately left behind once again in this crisis. We don't have access, right? I feel like the lack of access and the instability of, for example, the economics of our communities and the housing situation in our communities has really led to this crisis being amplified with the Latinos and the African Americans.
So in a lot of my research, what I've been reading is that they're saying that the part of the reason for these disparities is based on, pre-existing diagnoses such as diabetes, such as obesity. Then, of course, there's the access, like you say, to medical insurance and getting care. So how do you think this is going to affect the next phase of this whole pandemic that we're enduring right now?
Yeah.
Because honestly, it's like, oh, okay, so it took a pandemic for this to really come into full light.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you see this being worked out right now during this emergency crisis?
This is what I think. I think that a lot of us that have been working in this field, in government, in politics, have seen the disproportion, and we've been working towards that. Last year, for example, the Assembly took on the role of changing the housing laws in New York State because we knew that our people were being displaced, and we fought with a vigor because we knew that if people are displaced, they become homeless, and if they become homeless, they street, because this is what we're seeing. And so
I'm sorry, I need you to just repeat that last part you said, that if they become displaced, they become homeless, and then what? Oh, she's freezing. I'm sorry, we're having some technical issues, so that's the reason why I asked you to repeat what you had said. My apologies. Okay. But if you could just say that again.
Sure. When people become displaced, they become homeless, and then they live on the streets, and they're more susceptible to death on the street, right? And so we've been working, I would say, in a piecemeal approach to try and fix the issues of economic justice, the issues of environmental justice, the issues of housing justice. But now what we've seen with this pandemic is that all that work is coming to a head, where if we don't bring this to the forefront, we're going to continue to work in silos and separate, right? Dealing with one problem at a time, rather than looking at a system and really dismantling a system that puts our communities at higher risk. So I think that that's the lesson, right? Every time we pass a law or we put a policy in place, we need to look at the equity of that policy and how it's affecting minority communities, not when we're in the middle of an emergency, but before we get there. And so for me, that's been the most valuable lesson of all of this, looking at that social justice piece from the lens of the most vulnerable has to be part of our mission. That has to be the mission statement for what we do as elected officials.
So that's wonderful, from being a person of influence and having that say in representing the community. But how does one being part of the community elevate their standards and their way of just being informed, knowing exactly how to just shift and transform their way of living? I mean,
I think
what
that
kind of resources are really out there? I mean, it's unfortunate the situation that we're in right now, but I think right now what's most important is that we start educating our people on how to move forward and how to elevate themselves.
absolutely. Look, access to information is so important. One of the things that I've criticized from day one on this pandemic is that none of the material, for example, the governor goes on TV and does a press conference. It's in English. What happened to Spanish? What happened to all of the, Chinese languages? What happened to the African dialects? Like, there's no translation for this valuable and vital information, right? And so we have to make a point of getting access to information as part of the work that we do every day. When people are informed, they organize, right? We've seen that, for example, I pointed to the tenants movement. We see that when tenants are organized about what their rights are and what the process is, they come together and they build movements, right? And I think that that's what it's about. It's about making sure that we as elected officials, in my role, I'm empowering the voices of those in our communities so that they can speak on behalf of what they're seeing on the ground. And as far as the people who are living in our communities, we all have to make sure that we're engaged and involved. We get desensitized sometimes, especially with politics. I can't tell you how many times I walk down the street and people say, "Oh, you politicians, you're all the same." Right. And that's true, right? Because reputation is what makes people feel that way. Right. But we have to understand the power within us to change that. If you don't like who's representing you, run. Find someone who can run. Find someone who represents your values and put that person in office. But if we just don't vote, then we're letting the powers that be continue to exist without challenging that, without disrupting that. And I think that that's the change that we've started to see in our communities and that we should continue to see after this pandemic.
Well, that's a beautiful note to end on because it's very important, especially considering it's an election year.
Absolutely.
So where can people go to seek these resources that you were referencing?
Sure. So I want to first give the hotline for mental health. It's so important because we're grieving right now. Right? If you've lost a loved one and you can't say goodbye to that person, you can't send them off through a burial that you deem dignified, you're suffering, right? And I want to make sure that I'm on the mental health committee, and mental health has been a big part of the work that I do in the assembly and bringing access. So there's a mental health hotline that is monitored 24/7 in the state, and that's 1-844-863-9314. And in New York City, we have 1-888-NYC-WELL, which is the line for mental health in the city, but we can call both of those lines. I also want to bring focus to domestic violence. As people are quarantined together in small quarters, we have to make sure that we are cognizant of the fact that abuse exists still in our community, unfortunately. And there is also a domestic violence and sexual assault hotline that exists in New York State, and that number is 1-800-942-6906. Obviously, our offices, get to know who your elected official is. Google them, follow them on Facebook, follow them on Instagram, and hold them accountable, right? Like, if you email me and I can't get back to you, you should call me out. And that should be part of what we do with the elected officials that are in office right now and that are working on our behalf. And so I invite you all to follow us to find out who your elected official is. If you want to find out who represents you, you can go to NYC Map Portal and put in your address, and that'll tell you who your elected official is, and with a phone number and everything.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to just educate people on the importance of understanding that, in essence, you all work for us, right? You're our voices.
We absolutely work for you, and it's not good enough to just come around when we need a vote. This is a time where our communities need to stand together, and we're here to help.
Thank you, and thank you for stating that, because yes, we are all in this together. Thank you once again for taking the time out to share your wisdom with our viewers. And for you guys, if you're interested in learning more about Assemblymember Carmen De La Rosa, you can follow her on Twitter and Instagram at CN De La Rosa. So we do have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll learn how one food pantry continues to serve the community during this pandemic. Don't go anywhere. Back to our remote remote version of Open missed the coronavirus outbreak. Many people have been laid off from their jobs, and now more than ever, people are relying on food pantries as a resource to eat. So the New York Common Pantry has been working effectively to provide people in the community with meals while also keeping their staff and volunteers safe. Joining us to tell us more, we welcome New York Common Pantry Director of Operations, Judy Secon. Hi, and welcome, Judy.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you for taking a moment to be with us. We are acknowledging everyone for taking the time to sit with us and just educate us and also inform our audience on just this crisis and the impact it's having on everybody from all levels.
Yeah. So we felt it. We're feeling it every day. The need. Hunger is the underlying issue of this crisis, and it's always been an issue. Food insecurity in the Bronx is a major issue, but this is really highlighting it and bringing it out. And it's also something that we don't feel is going to go away when the virus recedes, so that this will be the lingering issue. And even what we're seeing now, we believe is going to keep multiplying, because hunger is not going to go away. The need for food is not going to go away.
I'm please share with us, walk us through what you're dealing with now versus what you used to deal with, right? Because hunger is an epidemic within New York to begin with. And so now it's probably quadrupled. I don't know what those numbers are. I'm very curious to know. Please do share what the difference is now.
Sure. So let me start with, we serve in the Bronx, and we've been there for a number of years. And on a typical year prior to this, we were serving about 750,000 meals in the Bronx. And we were on par this year to serve almost 1 million meals. So it is, we know the need was there. That is one of our fastest rising sites. The numbers keep growing in the Bronx. And when this virus hit, we immediately thought about the needs of our staff, as you mentioned, to stay safe, our ability to keep on functioning, which meant that our staff did stay safe so that we could keep on serving people and we didn't have to close due to any kind of illness. So we made a lot of changes in our model, which meant people not coming inside our facility. We serve from the street. Our staff is protected. We used to have choice. Choice was a big piece of what we did so that clients could come and choose food with dignity, the food that they want. They could pick a brown rice, a white rice, a pasta as a grain. They could pick a vegetable. We had to give up on that model, just in terms of time and staffing. So what we did for our staff is our staff went to a staggered schedule. We work every other day, so we're not all exposed. So if someone gets sick, we're not going to close the whole facility. We're just going to have to close that day, and we can keep serving. The other thing that we quickly saw was that people were scared to come out. We're in New York City, in the Bronx, in the epicenter of the virus. People are coming out. They're on the streets. They're exposed. It's not like the cars at food banks that we see. It's people in their carts walking the streets, maybe having to take the subway to get to us. So we knew that was going to be a major problem, that people were going to be hungry and not being able to get food. And so we partnered quickly with a number of home delivery services, Corona Couriers. We're working with Banana Kelly, who are letting us know of people who are in their homes and who cannot get out and who have issues. And so we're delivering food to them. And that we hadn't done before.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a big
deal. Yes, so that's a huge deal. We're working with Montefiore Hospital for their patients who they're at home. They're not in the hospital, but they're telehealth patients. They're reaching their patients through telehealth. They're assessing them for food insecurity. The residents themselves are coming and picking up the boxes of food, and we are bringing them to them. We also partnered quickly with Fresh Direct to provide us with the food boxes. And so we get now a pre-packed box of food. So that has helped with our service model to be able to get the food out, to have it in and get it out quickly.
So what kind of food does that entail? Like, what are these pre-boxes? What does it consist of?
So it consists of all the food groups. So there's grains, there's cereals, there's rice, there's pasta, there's produce. Generally what we call the hard produce. So it's apples, it's onions, it's corn, it's carrots. It's proteins, which is all shelf stable. So it's beans, it's canned tuna, canned salmon, and then there's also shelf stable milk, and then there might be a few other different things that are put in there. But we try to hit all the food groups. We also supplement because we have a fully functioning pantry, and so we've gotten contributions both from Goya. New York City Football Club came in very early and helped us and contributed a lot of support for us to be able to purchase additional food, so we can supplement the food that we give in the box with additional fresh produce, with additional rice and beans. Goya gave us rice and beans. We're also working with the Bronx Relief Fund, who's providing packaged bags of food, 200 bags once a week to us, which we also give out, and those also consist of food in all the food groups. So what we give out as a pantry bag, it's a bag of food to cook. So it's more than, there's been a lot of response to be able to get people the meals to eat, and that's great, and that like really helps. But what we're giving is a bag of food for people to cook. It's enough food for approximately 9 meals for the for a 2-week period. People can get food every 2 weeks, and so it's 9 meals, and it's for every family member. So if you're a family of 3, you're getting 3 to 4, you're getting 2 bags of food. 5 above, you're getting 3 bags of food. So we take care of the whole family.
Excuse me. So that's wonderful that you're sharing the details of how long the food would last for each individual, as well as how big of a family it would be able to feed. Now, how do people qualify, or should I say, first of all, how do people go, and how do you even monitor the social distancing? Because that's another issue. It's like there's a lot of people coming to the pantries, and then there's these long lines, and it's kind of like a catch 2020 on a lot of occasions.
It is. So we on our line, we make sure that everyone is 6 feet apart. We've redeployed staff, that they are just line managers. They're outside. They're making sure that we have masks. People have contributed masks to us, which we make sure that everybody who we serve gets a mask, so that we're helping them to stay safe in that way as well. And like I said, they don't come into our facility. There's no congregate seating anymore. Everything is just served from a door. And we make sure that, yes, the staff, that both the clients and the staff, as for the staff, it's hard because we work together and you're giving out food, but as much as possible, but we wear masks, we wear gloves, and we are social distanced.
Right. So everybody's being extremely precautious. Now, lastly, before we go, how can people sign up for the delivery part?
So people can sign up for our pantry. You can come to our pantry. We're open from Tuesday through Friday, 10 to 2. Anybody can sign up. You just need proof of ID, your ID for every family member. So if you're saying there are 3 family members, you'll give us 3 IDs. And then proof that you live in a place where you can cook. So you need like a rent bill, a utility bill, or something. It's an easy process. If you come and you don't have those things during this time, we will sign you up. We will give you an emergency bag of food. We'll ask you to come back with that the next time. But when you come to sign up, you do get a bag of food. So nobody's going to walk away. And then you join and you can come every 2 weeks. For the home delivery pieces, we do have actually an email, which is homedelivery@nycommonpantry.org. People can send us an email and we will respond. So we are working, like I said, with Corona Couriers, who has their own list of people in need, Banana Kelly, who has their list of people in need. So we're working with them. We worked with Council Member Gibson to give out to a house. We're going to work with Council Member Salamanca to give out to a house in his district. So we're working with across a variety of ways to get the food out to people who can't come to us.
So those are the organizations that they should be in touch with, organizations as well as elected officials.
Yes, and they can be in touch
with delivery.
For the home, they can be in touch with us. We're organizing it, so they can be either in touch with us. They can call. We're keeping lists of people who call. And we'll arrange for them to get a home delivery.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Judy, and thank you for your continued service. Blessings to you, your family, and stay safe.
Thank you. You too.
All right, you guys, once again, for more information on how you can get a meal through New York Common Pantry, you can visit newyorkcommonpantry.org. Once again, that's newyorkcommonpantry.org. And you could also find them on Twitter and Instagram at New York Common Pantry. That's at New York Common Pantry. All right, we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we're going to hear about a new initiative bringing arts virtually during this pandemic. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Open Remote. So the Lincoln Center, a New York staple and institution known for showcasing different artists from all over the world, and of course, having people visit from all over the world. But like everything else, due to the COVID-19 pandemic and social distancing, the venue has been placed on pause indefinitely. And as a result, the organization has found a way to bring the arts to people virtually and with a new initiative called Lincoln Center at Home. And it's going to offer pop-up classrooms, concerts for kids, and some live stream performances. And here to tell us more, we welcome Senior Program Manager Dan Wallace. Hello, Dan.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So these are interesting times, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, Lincoln Center is one of those places that when you think of New York, you think of Lincoln Center. And it's one of those venues that it's a must-see. Being in New York and being part of New York, it's part of our culture. So to not have this venue to go to, rather to not even be able to go outside, it's just going to be really interesting times, the year 2020, and seeing how we all convert to this remote style of connecting.
I think that's right. I think, to your point, Lincoln Center has always been a place. So we had to really put our heads together 6 weeks or so ago to see, what is Lincoln Center if it's not a place? And I think where that led us was this conversation. Exactly, what can we offer primarily to kids and families during this time, which is really the heart of Lincoln Center at Home. So it's a website takeover. lincolncenter.org is now Lincoln Center at Home, which is a calendar of upcoming events and an on-demand section of videos. And we've really got 3 channels of programming with Lincoln Center at Home. As you said, pop-up classrooms. Every afternoon at 2 p.m., we're sending out classrooms from professional dancers, musicians, actors who are making live lessons from their homes and sending them out to your homes via Facebook Live. So people can check those out every afternoon at 2 p.m. at facebook.com/Lincoln Center NYC. That's pop-up classrooms, right? And that was really, how can we engage people? How can we continue to try to have the arts be what it has been for me and so many others, which is a sense of connectedness, even during a time of social distance. So that's really, it's just been so inspiring to see teaching artists and their creativity and their energy and the ways that they've come together to solve problems, like how can we continue to deliver lessons that are meaningful and engaging in the arts from our homes. That's the first part of Lincoln Center at Home, pop-up classrooms. The second part is concerts for kids. So we've got a roster of incredible, globally minded performers who would typically be performing in communities with our school partners and on Lincoln Center stages, who we've asked a similar thing to, which is, can we come up with a concert that they can perform from their homes to the public's homes? So if Lincoln Center can't be a place, how can we offer something to kids and families during this period where we're also separate in a way that brings us together? And then the third option from Lincoln Center at Home is very much an archive opening and additionally some new performances that are being made available at a regular cadence at lincolncenter.org. Those are really the 3 prongs. So it's pop-up classroom, concerts for kids, and then the Lincoln Center at Home performances that are available both live and on demand.
So the first thing that pops out for me is these pop-up classes. And because if it's going to be family oriented, is this something that you are arranging together with schools? I mean, because school learning is different now, right? And so let's say we're referring to an after school program. Is this something that Lincoln Center is going to connect with schools and possibly offer in an after school program as an extra curriculum?
That's a great question. So I think everyone's had to pivot to remote learning at the same time, and Lincoln Center's never had to do it at this scale before. So this is very much us learning in public, along with so many people who are making a similar pivot. We certainly have a range of school partners and community partners who we remain in contact with, but Pop-Up Classroom is really for a broad local, national, and global audience. So it's not specifically for any one school, though many of our school partners, including many from the Bronx, have teachers and students tuning in the afternoons. I think this is a question of how can Lincoln Center offer families and kids meaningful arts education content much more broadly than with any specific partner. So we're really trying to see if we can send this out to as many people as can use it.
And so what kind of classes are we talking about?
Sure. So we've had line dancing, which is a hilarious one because it's a teaching artist who's home alone, figuring out how to do a line dance digitally. That was an interesting one. We've had puppet making, scene making. We've had collaborative songwriting, where a musician has composed an original piece of music and then is working with the audience live on Facebook to make up lyrics and then perform them. So it's gone across dance, music, theater, and visual art. And the through line is really, how can we engage parents and kids together in a way that is meaningful in terms of educational experiences, but also in a way that connects them to the arts, connects them to each other, and connects them to the broader audience of people who are working together through a difficult time.
And so the children's concerts, are those after school concerts?
Those are available. So those go out live and then on demand. That's really the thing, is we're finding that a regular schedule is useful for some, but not all of our audience, right? People have different demands based on their work schedules, based on their school schedules. People are just grappling with a lot of different demands right now. So there is a live component, right? The pop-up classrooms do go live every day at 2, and the concerts for kids come out Wednesdays and Sundays at a regular scheduled time, but then both are also available on demand. So certainly if there's a household where schoolwork and work is taking up the day, these are available in the evening or after school time slot. But so much is so up in the air. We're actually finding that the on-demand audience is much bigger than the live audience.
And so lastly, the actual performances that you were referencing, how often are those being implemented?
Well, there's a regularly updated calendar at lincolncenter.org. It's often, and these are premiering again. These are performances that haven't been seen for a long time, since they went on live at Lincoln Center on PBS, stretching back to the 70s and up to as recently as the last few years. But then there's also some new content from American Songbook, etc. So people should check out lincolncenter.org. That calendar gets updated regularly. There is a lot of content up there. From Lincoln Center, and then from all of our friends on campus. So New York City Ballet, Lincoln Center Theater, the Metropolitan Opera, New York Philharmonic. Very exciting performances, including we've got Broadway performer Joe Iconis coming up on May 1st. We've got the New York Phil with Yo-Yo Ma on May 14th. And then Lincoln Center Theater's performance Pipeline is going to be available on May 15th. And again, if people can't tune in when they're live, they will also be available on demand.
Right, but the beauty of tuning in live is that there's an interactive component to being a part of that live performance.
There's absolutely, and you know, the pop-up classrooms are much more interactive than the other models. So the teaching artist will actually be engaging with the audience live and interacting with them. The others are very much performance-based. So, you know, there is certainly live interaction possible within a household, but if action and interaction and engagement is what a family is looking for, I would encourage them to check out the pop-up classrooms.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us today, Dan. Appreciate that, and appreciate
course.
all these other options. God knows we're all zoomed out.
That's
And
right.
I mean, from just a communicating perspective. So to just kind of just sit back and be entertained by live performances, or rather, as live through technology. It's so interesting, just the whole transition of how we even phrase things.
That's right. We're having to think about, performances that we would always think of bringing children to see live. How can we make the most of a digital version of that? And then we're also having to think about, what does that mean for Lincoln Center long term? When we can be back on campus, how do we take what we're learning here and continue to apply it to a broader audience?
Right. Well, these are the times, and the idea is that we're kind of just moving and flowing and bending and weaving and just going with what the universe is providing, which is pretty much providing content on demand, if you think about it.
I think that's right.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, and good luck. And we really appreciate you coming through and sharing this with our viewers.
My pleasure. Thank you, Rhina.
All right, you guys, once again, for more information on the Lincoln Center at Home initiative, you can visit lincolncenter.org. Don't go anywhere. Bobby C's weekly sports roundup is coming up next.
Twenty-year-old Formula One driver Lando Norris navigated the circuit of the Americas flawlessly in his crossover to IndyCar for the series iRacing Challenge. The McLaren F1 sophomore is a seasoned sim racer and led 15 of the 32 virtual laps. Not bad for a first-time IndyCar victory against a full grid of experienced pros. Norris drives touring cars, sports cars, and open-wheel machines. IndyCar and F1 share the circuit of the Americas, but Norris used his experience in sim racing to his advantage nonetheless. We discussed his love for sim racing.
Lando, first of all, congratulations on the first place. Secondly, I wanted to thank you because I picked you first in the IndyCar Fantasy Challenge this week, so I appreciate it. I'm actually celebrating here with my Zoom background from the circuit.
Yeah, I see. Nice. Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, because I know some of the other Formula One drivers sometimes have been mixed on whether or not to be part of sim racing. So you have someone like Kimi Räikkönen who says, I don't care for it. Then you have another star like Charles Leclerc who says, I want to put smiles on the faces of people across the world. And I feel like you fall into that latter category. You've really enjoyed being part of this. How much have you enjoyed basically entertaining this racing community across the globe right now, especially during the pandemic?
Well, I've been streaming for the last 3 years on Twitch and doing things like this. Obviously not on as big of a scale because everything's ramped up a lot in the last few weeks because of the situation we're in. But I was the first driver on Twitch. I was the first guy to really try and give the fans more things to look at, more behind the scenes, or what an F1 driver is actually like. So it's good, that a lot of the other drivers, such as Charles and Alex and George, and some of the IndyCar guys as well, are streaming and showing themselves a lot more of them, probably at home or in a garage or something, which is something you never normally see. So I've loved it, and that's why I started doing it 2 or 3 years ago, was to give the fans this perspective of a Formula One driver or a race driver. It's positive that more and more drivers are getting into it and streaming.
I also wanted to ask you just about getting an opportunity to renew your rivalry with Colton Herta from Formula 4 and what it was like to do that here in IndyCar.
It was really good fun. I've missed Colton because we had a lot of great laughs back in 2015 and 2016 as well. I think it was a good time growing up, and we're both very immature back then, and whatever we were, 14 years old. We were very young, and it was just good fun to be able to race against him now. Or I mean us. Thankfully, I can say I was ahead of him for a lot of it, but at the same time, to be racing in some ways against him was good fun. And he even sent me this little message, which I will happily read out. I'm just gonna say, if you try to lap me, I'll take you out. Fair warning. That was his little text to me before the race. So when I was ahead of him under the caution, I was actually getting quite worried that he was going to do something stupid and send a dive bomb into turn 1 or something. But yeah, I mean, being able to race against him was nice, and I'm sure in the next few races, hopefully that I can join in for, we can continue them.
Norris could be back this weekend for the quote-unquote dream track for the virtual IndyCar finale. IndyCar says the 6th and final round of the virtual racing series will take place Saturday at the storied Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The finale will be open to full-time IndyCar teams, iRacing Challenge winners, and the Indianapolis 500 winner. Meanwhile, real racing could be on the horizon. All eyes are on NASCAR as it races toward a restart. The governor of North Carolina says NASCAR can hold the Coca-Cola 600 without fans at Charlotte Motor Speedway at the end of the month of May if health conditions do not deteriorate in the state. NASCAR, like other sports, has been shut down for weeks because of the coronavirus pandemic. The crisis shifted the NFL draft to Commissioner Roger Goodell's Bronxville basement. Not only did the virtual draft shatter TV ratings records, but the locals came up with a bunch of prizes of their own. The Giants are certainly winners on paper following the 3-day event. Big Blue potentially added its left and right tackles of the future, including first-rounder Andrew Thomas.
Today was we had a good day today. Very pleased with what happened. Obviously we took all defensive guys except for Shane Lemieux, the guard in the 5th round. And the theme of the day for defense was speed. We really felt like we improved our team speed, and that was what we were trying to do.
I knew God was going to put me in a place, where he felt I would be best at. I'm excited for it. I'm ready to get to work. I think the SEC is the best conference in college football. Week in and week out, you're going against each team's best rusher. They're very talented, and you have to be on your game. Obviously, it's not the NFL, but I think it's a good stepping stone moving up to the next level.
Deeper in the draft, the Giants found a host of possible contributors. Here's more from the newest Giants.
This game's all about versatility, and I think that just me getting good at all 3 interior positions is going to benefit me well in the future. So, I don't really have a position. I just want to be ready whenever I get in to, be ready to play whatever the coach asks me to.
Going into the Giants, I really do hope to just play my role, play whatever role that is, as a linebacker, outside, inside, whatever the coaches want to do. I just want to make plays, honestly. Just get my name out there, start to make plays.
Being a Swiss Army knife is always useful. And so, whatever position the coach decides to put me at, I guarantee you that I'll be able to maximize my potential there. So, whether that looks like special teams, whether that looks like a positional fit, I'll be able to use a lot of the different tools that I've been able to build up through college and be able to maximize every opportunity I get.
The Jets graded well, too. Joe Douglas excelled in his first draft as general manager. Douglas filled starting holes, helped his quarterback, and still swung for the fences. That included first-rounder Mekhi Becton from Louisville and second-rounder Denzel Mims of Baylor. At the top of the draft, Cincinnati took Joe Burrow, the former LSU quarterback and Heisman Trophy winner, with the number 1 overall pick. Burrow will likely begin his career as the starting quarterback for the Bengals. He is coming off a stellar season with LSU, where he led the Tigers to their 4th national championship. New faces, now all we need is an NFL season. Same story with America's pastime. MLB is exploring various options that could allow the season to start if the medical situation allows. Included is a plan in which the 30 teams could be split into 3 regional divisions. Teams could be restricted to playing within their region. That idea, if used, would break up the traditional alignments of the American and National Leagues. It would also cut travel. Baseball is eyeing a June return. In the meantime, it's a race to see which sport returns first, albeit likely without spectators. Could be NASCAR, could be MMA and UFC 249, which is now rescheduled for May 9th in Jacksonville, Florida, with no fans. Progress, sports fans, progress. Let's hit the C list for my 2 cents on ESPN's hit, The Last Dance. I'm hard-pressed to find someone that hasn't enjoyed The Last Dance, an ESPN documentary miniseries focusing on the 1997-1998 Chicago Bulls and all-time great Michael Jordan. One thing is certain, ratings are high. ESPN's second night of its 10-part docuseries drew a total of 5.9 million viewers across its third and fourth episodes last Sunday night, only a slight downtick from its premiere episodes the week before. Overall, ESPN says that combined with last week's premiere episodes, the series reps the 4 most viewed original content broadcasts on ESPN networks since 2004. More importantly, in my mind, the series cements MJ's legacy as the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Simply put, Air Jordan thrived in a way and in places that few players before him could match, and that even few players ever since can emulate. I'll put my critic skills to the test and offer 5 basketballs for The Last Dance. It's 5-star material like Jordan himself. Must-watch TV this Sunday at 9 p.m. Check out episodes 5 and 6 this weekend. That's your sports. I'm Bobby C. Stay tuned. More Open back after this.
Welcome back to Open Remote. So Latin Grammy Award nominee Sonia De Los Santos has been bringing joy into families' homes since her latest album in 2015. She's been featured on popular shows such as ABC's Good Morning America, CBS's The Early Show, and my daughter's favorite show from the past, Sprouts Sunny Side Up. She's also performed at prestigious venues such as Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, and has been able to share her life story growing up in Mexico through her music. And here to tell us about her new series, En Casa con Sonia, we welcome Sonia De Los Santos. Hi, Sonia.
Hi, Rhina. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you again. I mean, the last time we had you, you were in studio. Pero I gotta tell you, you've been doing a phenomenal job with this cute series that you've created during your quarantine creativity.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me and for making this show possible from home. It's been great. After everything shut down, I just pretty much sat down and with my hands to my face saying, what am I going to do? I was supposed to be making a new album and touring. What can I do to continue to be in the music and continue to be inspired and to share some of what I do with families everywhere. And this is what I came up with. I set up a little camera. I moved some stuff here in my attic. And I started recording songs from my album, songs from other people that I admire, and so it's been really great to put this out in the world and see the response.
I think you're doing a phenomenal job. I had such a fun time going through your little snippets on IGTV. First of all, this whole interactive concept. Because honestly, I feel like I'm really there with you. You're not shooting them live. Are you shooting them live?
Well, they're shot in one take, right? But no, I sit down and then I transfer the files, and I'm not putting them out as I record them. But
right.
Yeah, but the idea, what I wanted to do is to kind of shoot them in one take to give that feeling of being there with me. Right.
Well, I certainly felt like I was there with you. And so these songs that you're presenting, and I love that they're bilingual. I love that you're educating people. I love that you're sharing your culture in your stories. So let's just talk about your series and how you're creating the storyline of the entire series.
Sure. I'm so glad you've been enjoying them. Really, it's just me, at home, trying to think, going over my books and my albums, and the 2 albums that I've put out so far, but also like some of the albums that I have participated in projects from other musicians. And
Right. I know that you did something with Dan Zane. I also,
yeah.
I felt like I was there with you and your abuelita making chocolate.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
That
I
was
even
so
took
much fun.
the clay pot out. Yeah.
And then, of course, Alegría, which you're going to share with us later.
Yeah. It's all it's stories and songs that have come from my albums, and like I said, just songs that I like and that I think are diverse enough for that I know, and that are diverse enough for the repertoire. So there's some songs in English, some in Spanish, and but I am looking into maybe learning something in another language. We'll see. It will be a surprise for sure.
Oh yeah, well you're quite the surprise. I mean, you play a kazoo, you play a harmonica while you're playing guitar, while you're singing,
doing a little dance. It's a one-woman show, so I have to wear many hats.
Oh my gosh. And so how are you surviving? I mean, obviously you're creating and you're doing a really phenomenal job, but if you're someone that's used to touring and being out in the public and performing, how are you making ends meet right now?
Well, it's a great question. I don't know. I'm taking it one day at a time. I knew that I kind of had to start, putting something out there. I've been saying that I thought before that I was pretty okay sort of posting in social media, being present, promoting shows, but not necessarily putting my face out there every day. It's not the same thing as posting a flyer from a show, or some reposting something, but like actually creating content and showing your face every day or every other day or whatever it is. It's a completely different experience. And so I think I'm growing a lot. I'm growing from this emotionally. I've been playing I have all my guitars out here, the jarana, the guitars, the electric guitar, the everything. Like you said, the kazoos, the harmonica. So my apartment has changed completely, from just being, carrying one guitar and going away and coming back and luggage, and it's very different. And I've been really lucky because presenters, all across the United States, people that we have worked with before have been interested in the series and have been sharing these videos. And that's great help, just to be out there and to feel like what I'm posting from here, making here, like very handmade, just, with whatever I have here, it's getting it somewhere else. It's reaching people's homes. So that, that's how I'm surviving right now, and that's
Right.
keeping me happy and occupied, and looking forward to a better future where I can actually sing these songs in person to our little fans.
Which is a wonderful note for us to end this interview on, because I know when we come back, you're going to be singing Alegría for us, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
All right. So are there any last words you want to share with everyone?
Just, keep making music out there from home, I would say. It's you can hum along a tune, sing with me, with whoever you have at home, and keep that joy coming from your heart. Try to find those moments that bring you joy, and share with your family.
Beautiful. Thank you. And you know what? We're going to get to do that in a few seconds. So don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to be humming along with Sonia when we return. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back. It's now time for this week's Open Artist Spotlight. Here now to perform from her Latin Grammy-nominated album, Alegría, let's give it up for Sonia De Los Santos.
Woohoo! All right. So I wrote this song after my mom told me I was born with a smile on my face, and that's a memory that brings me joy. So I invite you to think of what makes you happy. Think about it and keep it in your heart, and bring it out on days when you don't feel that happy. Maybe to sing along to this song, you only need to know the word alegría. Put your hands up like this and sway from side to side. Alegría, alegría,
alegría, alegría.
That's it. You got it. All right. Mi mamá me dijo que nací sonriendo y que desde niña una luz yo tengo. Mi mamá me dijo que nací sonriendo y que desde niña una luz yo tengo. Y por eso sé que aunque sopla el viento en mi corazón, una luz encuentro. Alegría es lo que yo siento. Alegría es lo que yo tengo. Alegría es lo que yo siento. Alegría para cantarle al viento. Mi mamá me dijo que nací temprano, por eso me gusta cuando canta el gallo. Mi mamá me dijo que nací temprano, por eso me gusta cuando canta el gallo. Y por eso sé que cuando amanece este corazón siempre lo agradece. Alegría es lo que yo siento. Alegría es lo que yo tengo. Alegría es lo que yo siento. Alegría a cantarle al viento. Mi mamá me dijo que la vida es bella y que con mi canto siempre dejé huella. Mi mamá me dijo que la vida es bella y que con mi canto siempre dejé huella. Y por eso sé que por el camino ya mi corazón encontró un destino. Alegría es lo que yo siento. Alegría es lo que yo tengo. Alegría es lo que yo siento. Alegría para cantarle al viento.
¡Qué alegría! ¡Woo, Sonia de los Santos! Bueno, gracias, Sonia, por la alegría.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much for having me. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.
Woo. And you guys, for more, if you want to check her out on Instagram, she's got her series En Casa con Sonia, where you can join in on these cute little mini videos, and that's Sonia DLS. All right, so that's our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all our guests for coming through, to your viewers for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, you can check out the recablecast tonight and 24 hours a day at frostnet.tv. I'm Rhina Valentin, and from all of us here at Open, may the universe provide paz, prosperity, y amor. Stay Bronx strong, safe, and healthy. Adios, everybody.